Welcome back. Richard, it's good to see you this morning.
Morning. Good to be here.
As
Right
always.
early on whatever day it is.
Yeah, I think it's Saturday today that we're recording, but
Is it?
go up
Okay.
tomorrow, the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, this one crept up, didn't it? Or sped up on us. All of a sudden, Thanksgiving is here.
It sure did. It sure did. So, and we're gonna hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving, or at least a good Thanksgiving week, whether they're celebrating Thanksgiving or not.
Right.
But today we are not going to talk about Thanksgiving. We're going to talk about an interesting. It's a relatively new phrase that people use, adulting.
Yes.
We've turned being an adult into a verb, I guess.
As we often do, we turn a noun into a verb. And so we want to talk about adulting today. You and I discussed a number of other topics that we could have done this way. Social media, we're still talking about that. In fact, there was a new study, a neuroimaging study about brain changes in children who use social media. Long COVID is returning, not returning as it is, it's returning in the news.
Yeah, there's a lot of articles coming out about that.
About long COVID and ongoing discussions about family estrangements, people not talking to each other, particularly relevant at this time of year. There's a number of articles. But then as we were talking and searching, this article popped up. It's titled 8 Ways to Be an Adult. And I thought, I'm gonna look at this, see what he says. And I just couldn't resist. I said, we have to talk about this because it's a great article, and there's a lot of stuff in here that we need to chew on for a while.
Absolutely. Well, and it's so funny because people, we sort of intuitively know this, but it's this way of thinking only seems to come about when it benefits us in some way, especially when we're dealing with kids. But this idea that so many people have, that as soon as somebody turns 18, okay, now they're an adult, and it's like something happened, something magical on that 18th birthday. Midnight strikes, and they're now officially 18 years old, and they're an adult.
I'm an adult now. Right.
Capable, and they're responsible, and they're knowledgeable, and they know what to do, and boom, there it is. They're now an adult.
Or kids will tell teenagers tell their parents, well, when I'm 18, they'll finish the sentence, because I'm an adult then. No, it's not. Or 21. You say, right, well, when I'm 21, I'm really an adult, right?
Right.
And I can do all those things that adults do. But being an adult is not like, it's not flipping a switch. You don't get there because you graduated, or because you turned a certain chronology, you had a birthday, or you graduated from college, or you got married. None of these single events make you an adult. Right. Okay, that's number one. Okay. Number two, being an adult is a long process.
Yeah.
You can think of it as beginning in puberty and going on into some time in the future, but you learn how to become an adult gradually.
Okay? Absolutely. And and it's funny too, because some people are figuring that out, and now they're using that, and they'll say, well, the brain continues to develop until I'm about 25 or so. And so then sometimes adolescents will use that as an excuse to avoid adulting until that time, because it's like, well, because again, maybe this idea that a switch is going to flip at that time. As soon as my brain is developing, then
that's true. That's become the next switch, right? Yeah. Well, it's not 21; it's actually 25 or 26, because the brain hasn't matured until you're 25 or 26. So no, it's not a switch. Nothing flips, and now you're an adult. It's also a process. And the third thing is, and I like this one. We've heard about, we all have an inner child. Right. So the third thing about an adult is you keep your inner child in check.
Right.
Okay, that's your response. Keep, yeah, we all know you have an inner child, but being an adult is keeping that inner child in check. It comes, you're done having tantrums, and you're done pouting and whining and being petulant and narcissistic. Being an adult is keeping that stuff under control. That's
Absolutely.
part of what it means, right? We know you have a inner child, but keep it under
And we
control.
do have to keep that in mind throughout adulthood, because my goodness, we've seen 50-year-olds
We all,
who allow that
yeah, we all have
child to
right.
take control at times.
Right.
So yes, this article has some wonderful ideas about how to adult, and they list he lists 8 things, and the first is don't be a jerk.
Right.
And I think that it's such a good way to say it, because when you think about some of the teenagers and kids that you work with, and it's like part of their development is that they're jerks sometimes. They say things that they shouldn't say, or they do things that they're doing just to upset you. But they're having tantrums, and they're having their outbursts, and they're pitching their fits. But if you're going to truly adult, you have to kind of keep that in check.
Exactly. Little kids react. They throw food, and they scream, and they might hit you. They might bite, and they have these little temper tantrums. Kids do that because they're reacting before they're thinking, right? And so, but adults are expected to consider consequences before they react. I mean, that's the big difference between an adult and a teenager. Teenagers react, and then they think about it. Mm-hmm. Adults think about it, and then they react. Okay, so if you're an adult, don't be a jerk. Don't react before you think. Okay, if you're an adult, then it means you're thinking before you're reacting.
Right.
But I like the straightforward. Don't be a jerk. And I think, okay, that got my attention. Right?
Yeah, just hit you with the first one.
Right.
Now, the second one, I think, is we could do a couple of entire podcasts just on this one. And the second one is to take full responsibility for where you are in your life. And I this is such, I think that this is such an issue, even for seasoned adults, we'll say, people who aren't just becoming adults. This is an issue that a lot of people have, because we like to, and we live in this time period right now where as we learn more about the effects of past experiences and trauma and things like that, what we're finding is that more and more people are using these past experiences as I hate to use the word excuse, because people usually associate that with a negative connotation, but it is an excuse or a rationale or a reason for all of these challenges or problems or issues in their life. And while that is okay, it's okay to know, okay, I have this problem because of this past experience. What's starting to happen more and more now is that we are using that as an explanation, but then we're not doing anything about it. We're not changing. We're not. And so we're saying, well, I do that because that's the way my mom, it's my mom's fault. But then don't do anything to change it or to make anything better. It's just, you have to say at some point, no, I'm responsible for my life. These past things happen. Okay. But now I'm responsible from now on.
Right. Yeah, you have to, and I think he's right about this. You have to digest the good. You have to digest the good and the bad. We all have both. Mm-hmm. Okay. And all of those things combine to make us into who we are. Right. But it's your responsibility. You can't keep blaming somebody else. Children blame others.
Right.
That's the difference. Kids blame, well, she made me do it, or this is your fault, or the dog ate my homework, sort of stuff. Okay. Mm-hmm. Adults take full responsibility for their life. Okay. Right. And that's you're an adult when you take full responsibility. Stop blaming others. Stop making excuses. It's your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it all combines to define who you are. Okay. Right. But it's yours.
Right. And again, I know that there are people listening to this who are going to say, man, I know 40, 50, 60-year-olds who blame others and do that. And it's true. Right. And it's just as much of a problem for them as it is for, these young adults who are just becoming adults. So
That's right.
We all need to be cognizant of that. But no,
Right.
the third thing is another issue with taking responsibility, but this is in regards to relationships.
Right.
It's, what he says is love hard and responsibly.
Right.
And, I think that, again, this hits a really important point that, as we go through adolescence, we jump in and out of relationships. If anybody loves hard and quickly, it's an adolescent. They will meet somebody, and within a day they are in a relationship, and they're saying that they love each other, and that and that's great in adolescence, because okay, that's adolescence, and the vast majority of those relationships don't go much farther than that.
Right.
But if you're going to be as you become an adult, and if you're going to have adult-like relationships, you have to be responsible for what you're doing and
Right.
what you're saying and how you're handling those relationships.
That's right. When we talk about a process, one of the things in the process is that most of us have multiple relationships, not at the same time, but we have relationships beginning early on, and that they keep changing as we keep growing and maturing. But we have all been hurt.
Yeah.
Most of us have experienced the pain of a broken relationship, okay, or being deceived, or being hurt by somebody else, okay? But you have to get over that stuff. If you're an adult, you work through that, because you can't love again if you're living in a place of hurt. You can't love out of fear. It can't be conditional. When he says love hard, he means you have to be fearless,
Right.
and you have to love completely, and and that means you have to let yourself be vulnerable, because if you're not open, if you're not vulnerable, it's not a complete relationship.
Right.
And anything less than complete and total love isn't really worth it. I mean, it's not really a relationship. So you can't love out of fear. You can't love out of hurt. You have to open yourself back up and love completely. And that means being vulnerable.
Absolutely. And yeah, there is yet another series of podcasts that could be done on that issue itself. But because that is such a tremendous issue, and with so many people, and just a lot of work that needs to be done with that. The fourth thing that is, fourth recommendation for adulting is another obvious one, but to stop lying. And very specifically, stop lying to yourself as well as to others.
That's right. I put this in that category. Don't be a jerk. And I'm thinking this guy saying, and also stop lying.
Right.
Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to others. Kids lie, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Kids lie, but kids live in a world where they will be punished. They live in a world where there are consequences laid down upon them that other people decide. Other people make those decisions. They don't have a lot of say when it comes to those things. But they also learn over time that if I lie, that damages relationships, that damages who I am, because then I'm seen by others as a person that can't be trusted, that can't be relied upon. And so as you become an adult, yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's difficult to tell the truth sometimes, but the truth is what has to be said, because if you want an authentic relationship, if you want an authentic reaction from someone, or interaction with another person, you have to be honest, and you don't have to be brutally honest. You don't have to say things in such a way that you're going to hurt people, but you can say, you know what, I really do like that other dress better than I like that dress, or I really do think that this is the better option for you than that one, even though I know you really want to do that one. I think this is the better option for these reasons. But you have to be honest. You can't just go through life telling people what they want to hear.
Right. Yeah. I mean, kids lie, but kids live in a fantasy land. I mean, they don't have responsibility. They want to create this world of their own making, and so, and they, as you said, most often they lie to avoid consequences. You know, they're going to try. I'll try a lie, you know, see if somebody buys it, but it's to avoid consequences. Adults, however, have to accept truth, have to accept their truth, swallow it, digest it, okay?
Mhm.
Because that's the only way you get past the fear. You lie out of fear,
Absolutely.
fear of consequences, fear of ruining your reputation. So most of us lie because we're afraid of something. No, you have to accept the truth, who you are, what you're up to, because you also don't want to lie to yourself.
Right.
We typically think about lying to others,
Right.
but we also have to remember that we lie to ourselves. We deceive
Right.
ourselves. And you can't do that because you're just avoiding something else. You're lying to yourself out of fear. You have to accept that because that's the only way you're going to get past the fear. This is who I am. This is my mistake. Then I can get on with my life. Okay.
Absolutely.
Kids lie. Adults tell the truth.
Absolutely. And related to that idea of lying to yourself is when we get to number 5, which is to check your ego. And, you know, kids are very often driven, ego driven.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily the ego of Freudian ego, but this is
Right.
the ego of just thinking about themselves. You know, that this is what I want to do, and what I want to do is the most important thing, and I need to,
Right.
you know, everybody else, you know, is against me, and I'm the only one that, you know, cares about me, and those kind of things. And so everything is ego driven as a child. And as an adult, we have to think about other people. I mean, we live in a social world, and we have to think about other people, especially if we want to have relationships. But if you want to have any kind of job or any kind of success in the business world or any industry, you have to be able to interact with others and think about their needs and how their needs match or don't match your needs.
That's right. But one of the things we know about children is that they tend to be very self-centered. They make everything about themselves. And you can see this in very young children and toddlers. You can see it in elementary age kids. You can see it in teenagers. Everything is about me. With teenagers, for example, you know, nobody hurts the way I do. Nobody has the emotions that I have. Nobody thinks about this stuff the way I do. Nobody thinks as deeply as I do. That's ego. That's ego involvement. And that's a normal part of growing up, is that you begin by being very self-centered. But as you mature, you begin to think about other people and incorporating those people into your life. And the difference between adult and children is children want to receive attention. They want all the attention on them. Adults have to give attention. You know, you're done, you know, or you should be done getting all the attention, making yourself the center, and start giving that to others. And that's what adults do. They give attention to others. And one of the things he says is that children pull from their ego, adults pull from their hearts. And you can think of the difference between a parent and a child. A parent is the giver, okay? And it's normal for children to receive, but then it has to be normal. Adults give that attention. They should be done attracting it. And we know what people are like we know what adults are like when they want all the attention. You know, they're like, well, we have mental health terms for that sort of behavior.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Number 6 is another one of those sucker punches, I think. And that is
I love this one, Bernie. I'm sorry.
I know.
You know, as a Luddite, this is one of my favorites.
I know. But number 6 is call people back. If he says, you know, we hide behind our phones. We tend to avoid people. You know, if somebody calls you, they want to talk to you. Now, we all have said, well, if they really want to talk, they'll leave a message. And so they'll call, we won't answer, and they don't leave a message, and we think, okay, if they really want to talk, they'll call back. Well, they'll call back if they can, but if somebody calls, you should call them back. They want to talk. They don't want to text. They don't want to, you know, they want to talk. Sure, absolutely. You may not be available. You know, you may be busy, you may not be available. And so you may have to send it to voicemail and text, you know, I can call back. Everything okay? I need to call back later. I can't talk right now. All that's fine. But technology has to be used to connect with people, not
Right.
as a screen to keep other people away from you.
Yeah, if somebody calls you, they want to talk. There's something happening at the moment that they want to talk. And it's your right to ignore them. But if somebody calls you, they want to talk to you. Don't let that moment go by. If you can't answer the phone immediately, then at least call them back as soon as you can, because they may need you at that moment
Right.
and they need to talk about it. They also might be driving and they can't talk or they can't text. So, but if somebody calls you, call them back. Don't hide behind your technology. Okay. The technology should connect people. Don't use it to shield yourself, to hide, to separate from other people.
Right. And if for those of you who are listening who have teenagers, you know that this is absolutely an adolescent thing to do. How many times have you called your teen and they don't answer, and
Right.
they'll text you back or something? But you know, that is a smokescreen to prevent you from, you know, it gives them the opportunity to really think about things before, you know, how do I want to say this? How do I want? Sometimes that's really important, but sometimes you just need to talk.
Right.
And
I'm right. I'm of that generation. I'm not old. I'm of a certain generation. I'm of that generation that talked. Okay. And my kids are of a generation that texted. And frequently I'll call my kids, you know, hey, this is your dad. And I'll get a text, hey, what's up? Oh, I want to say, well, I'll tell you what's not up. I'm not paying your phone bill anymore. When I call, you answer your phone. You don't say, hey, what's up? You
yeah,
know, if I call, it's because I want to talk to you.
yeah. I remember we've talked about Dr. Silver a number of times,
Yeah. Right.
and
God,
he
I
was
miss
of
him.
a certain generation. He
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
a generation before you. Um,
Right.
and I remember one time he wanted some information from someone, and so I was sending an email, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "Well, I'm asking Dr. So and so for that information you want. I'm sending an email." He goes, "Why don't you just call them?" And I was okay. Yeah, I could do that, but you know, my mind was I can send this, and then they can send it whenever they're. But just, why
Right.
don't you just call them? Say, okay, thank you, Dr. Silver.
You see, it's not just me, you know.
No, I mean he
No,
was
but
not.
I
He was 90, but that's okay. So
there's only a generation separating us.
of a
Okay.
generation.
Where does that put me?
Number 7 on this list is to take care of your own stuff.
Right.
All right. So again, you know, kids tend to make their problems the responsibility of other people. You know,
Right.
it's not my fault, or well, I only did that because mom did this, or because dad said that, or because of
Right.
this, or because of that. Again, take responsibility. You have to take
Right.
care of your own stuff because it's your stuff.
Right. And we're not talking about belonging. We're not talking just about belongings. We're talking about your life. Children give their problems to others. Fix this, help me, clean this, do that. Children give their problems to other people. Adults take care of their own problems. That's your responsibility. These are your things. This is your life. You take responsibility. Don't blame other people. This is that idea that you can't change other people.
Right.
Okay. Frequently we get into a relationship and we want our partner to make changes.
Yeah.
No, this is you. You have to work on you. This is your stuff. It's your responsibility to take care of it. You can't keep blaming others for whatever is
Absolutely.
going on. Mhm.
Absolutely. And now, and number 8, finally, number 8 is to be grateful.
Mhm.
And
Right.
and it's great to end with this one because it is so it is a virtue that I think so many people lack, and that is
Mhm.
being grateful. Kids just want more and more.
Right.
It, and you know, and I guess it makes sense to feel that way during childhood and adolescence. But as an adult, at some point, we have to decide to be grateful for what we have. We can't continue to be, you know, to be chasing the Joneses, or to be in a situation where we're always wanting more, always wanting
Mhm.
something bigger and something better and something else, because
Mhm.
you know it never ends. You know, at some point you have to be grateful for what you have, for the things that you've been through, the things that you've experienced. You have to be grateful for it because that's all part of who you are.
That's right. There's this delicate connection, and I really hadn't thought about this before until I read number 8. And I was surprised the turn that it took and the relationship that it establishes. Children want more and more and more and more and more time, more this, more food, more candy. Adults, if you're an adult and you find yourself wanting more and more and the latest and the best and what's new and shoes and jewelry and clothes and makeup and what's the latest this and the latest that, this frenetic acquisition of things that we're all caught up in this country. Right. I mean, Christmas is coming and it's about things.
Right.
If you're still doing that as an adult, and if you're only acquiring, you don't have any room for gratitude for what you have.
Right.
And I didn't realize there was that connection,
right.
that if you're only seeking more, you're not expressing gratitude for all that you do have. Okay. Right. And that's a problem. You have to be grateful. An adult is grateful for what he or she has. Right. Children don't do that. They're many times they're never good. They don't think about, wow, my parents are really sacrificing to do this for me. Later on they do, you know, when they become adults. But if you're an adult and you're still wanting more and more and more and more, stop and think about, are you grateful for what you have? And many people, they're not grateful for what they have. They just want more.
Right. Absolutely. So those are the 8. There will be a link in the show notes to this article. We strongly encourage everyone to check it out and to read it. But, you know, as we look at the 8, we can see the sort of the underlying currents of love, of gratitude, truth and responsibility. And all of these are the main, you know, things that we strive for and as we become adults and we enter into this world of, you know, where our decisions matter, our decisions, you know, have implications. And so we have to learn to love and have gratitude and be truthful and, you know, be interested in the truth and have that responsibility for ourselves. And, you know, many times for others, we have that responsibility at times.
Yeah. One of the things that struck me about, as I was going through this, this theme of what do you do with the bad stuff that happens in your life, you know? And throughout these 8, he keeps repeating this idea that you have to accept the bad as well as the good. Okay. Right. We all experience tough things and you have to have both. And when he got to the gratitude section, he said, you even have to be grateful for the bad things that happen, because the bad things also made you who you are, and it made you a better version of yourself, whether it was a relationship or whatever you experienced that you put in the bad column, you use that to make yourself a better version of yourself. So be grateful for everything.
Absolutely.
Okay? That's what adults do. They're grateful for everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well,
becoming an adult is not easy.
That's it. That's true. It is not easy. So, all right. Well, that's it for today. I hope everyone has a very happy Thanksgiving and in the very least a good Thanksgiving week. And we will be back next week to talk about some of these other things that's going on. There's lots of things happening. So
lots going on. Right.
All right. Until then, stay happy.
Okay.
Yeah. You stay
happy. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Stay happy. Stay happy, stay healthy, and forget to be afraid.